are there prospects of when you could return to a desk outside of your apartment?
Yeah, so, so far I've heard of one large financial institution that's gone back to work in their like midtown offices. And I would sort of divide the world up into sell side and buy side. And sort of sell side is the large banks. And they have just more regulations and more, they're client facing, right? This is JP Morgan, Bank of America. Like when you think of a bank, that's what you think of. And so I expect they've always had some people who are in the office just because there's some stuff you can't do remotely. And they've been more likely to trickle back in. But then on the buy side firm, sort of the big investors, up until I heard about this one other firm, everyone was saying Labor Day, absolute earliest. And that's not even like a guarantee.
Yeah.
That's just, maybe Labor Day. So, but there's no clarity. I know a lot of people are saying like, I've been living in my parents' house for 2 months. This isn't us. We're still in our apartment. But, I have friends who are saying like, we're living in our parents' house for 2 months. I don't know when we're coming back.
Right.
Like, should we still have an apartment? Are we going to give up an apartment and then all have to try and find one again in September? Or is it not going to be until December? No one knows.
How do you grapple with that uncertainty? I mean, that's like the catchphrase of this, all these uncertain times, but it truly is one where the questions are not ending.
Jealousy mostly. When this whole thing first started, we're like, well, let's not leave New York. Let's try and stick it out for a variety of reasons. But we did sort of stick it out. And the first couple of weeks felt fine. But now I'm starting to get a little jealous, not going to lie. The people who are like, month 3 in quarantine on the lake house in North Carolina that we rented. Or my rich family's townhome in Connecticut or something, like, oh, so terrible, I'm being quarantined in the Berkshires. So a little bit of jealousy there. The other thing that I really don't know,
if Fletcher has anything he would like to say, the camera is rolling, and I never mind an additional guest.
Yes, that is Fletcher in the background. But the other thing is, this job can be done remotely. I mean, there are benefits to being there in person, but I've never fully understood why all of finance is so heavily concentrated in New York, in San Francisco, maybe 1 or 2 other places. And I don't know what it's going to look like after this.
There'll be change, seeing how the world kept moving, finance kept happening, but remotely. Do you think there's going to be change, or you think right back?
So there's been sort of a trend of some, hedge funds trying to do what I'd call like a retirement office in a lower cost of living place, or like out in the suburbs. And it's usually, like the founder has been there for a long time. He's super rich and he now wants to live in Miami. So they're going to open up a Miami office. And those have universally failed for sort of 2 reasons. One, I think, because it's kind of a signal that the founder is not really super involved, but is also not retiring. Like, it's the worst of all possible worlds, because you've got a boss who still wants to be the boss, but is now like has his own separate office, and how involved is he going to be? So I think it's like the worst of all possible worlds. And 2, even though you can do the job anywhere, if you're in if there's no one else there, it creates a big marketing and talent problem. So like I had friends who were excited to be, working at Furtree's office in Miami. Like, I get to be in Miami. And then the problem is, when Furtree decided that wasn't working and they closed the office a year later, they were then stuck in Miami and moved and didn't really, there's not like a ton of other things going on, right? Like there's not a huge finance industry there. So they kind of were stuck, like, what do we do? And so there are like those cautionary tales that I think have kind of turned people off to it a little bit. But I wonder if this is the catalyst to kind of get people to rethink about it. You know, you've already had two large firms say they expect they won't need anywhere near as much office space in Midtown as they had before, just because they're going to move stuff remote or have people work from home.
Are you looking forward to eventually getting back? Do you miss being in the office at all?
A little. You know, when this all first started, I thought, like, you know, this is great. Like, I save the commuting time, and you know, I get to see my kid every day, and you know, it is kind of nice because if you get like a spare 5 minutes during the day, sometimes you can accomplish like other household things. Like, you know, if I want to cook something, but it just requires like 5 minutes of work to like toss something in the slow cooker. And then like dinner's ready in 4 hours. Like I couldn't do that before, but now you can. So I was like really excited about all of that. But now after like 4 months, you know, I really just kind of miss seeing other people. You know, my work has not done a single video thing the entire time.
Really?
Yeah. So like none of the people that I work with know I have a beard.
So you're doing the Zooms, but without the video element of them.
Yep. No one in my office wants to do video anything. So
no connection.
So we like literally haven't seen each other in months, and you know, in that time, like things have happened, right? Like people have quit, some people have you know, moved on to other things. I think we even hired a person, and you just think like, you know, I'd like to at some point see these people again and just like have a casual conversation. So you know, there's a small part of me that would like to again. Now, that being said, there are certainly advantages to not having to go to the office 5 days a week, and I don't think that's necessary at all.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see a big change in those terms for sure. What do you think you've learned from this experience thus far? You know, what has this all taught you most about yourself, both as a parent and a spouse and an employee?
You know, I think one thing that it's taught me is a little bit of patience. Because before you had the sort of back and forth of the day. And so I don't want to say you could kind of like run away from a problem. But, you know, if there's a problem at home because the kid's, you know, teething or won't sleep or something, you go to work. And then you'll come back and it'll be 12 hours later and maybe that problem will have gone away. Or, you know, if there's a problem at work, you can at least go home and decompress and try and relax for a little bit. And like both of those have just been shot to hell, right? Like there's literally like no escape from any facet of your life. So I think it's taught me that I'm not a very patient person and that is a really important thing to try and do. So I've been trying to sort of build like the mindfulness and the kind of patience toolkits a little bit. You know, I've always like people say like, oh, you should like try and meditate because that's helpful. And I've just never really bothered. But now I like literally schedule it on the calendar. So it's like I need to meditate for, you know, 15 minutes 3 times a week just to try and like build a little bit of the kind of patience muscle.
Are you finding it's helping?
I do. Because my biggest problem before was always like remembering to do these things.
Right.
And so the jump here was, you know, don't just remember to do them, like actually schedule them. And, you know, you toss them on your work calendar and you do it at 8 p.m. Whereas I wouldn't have done that before. But I'm like, well, I'm going to be like checking my work calendar constantly anyway. So we'll just have that come up. And, another thing is I set an alarm for every day at 5 p.m. To just, at 5 p.m. the alarm goes off and I just, stop and take 10 deep breaths. And it's amazing how helpful that's been to just like, as the day winds on, you're starting to get worn down, like frustrated and upset. I don't even realize it, but usually half the time by like 5 p.m., I'm like ready to scream and start like eating ice cream right out of the carton. And like just taking like 10 seconds to just recognize that has been really helpful.
It's done. I mean, even if it's not done like symbolically, it's done. And
Yeah.
don't keep going in 10 seconds, but
right. But like, it's a time where you can just say like, okay, I'm going to take 20 seconds. Like, I need 20 seconds. Like nothing super urgent needs to be done right now. Like give me 1 minute to just reset.
I think that's very smart. I think that's really very smart. And I've been asking people not what they're most excited to do as the world hopefully continues to reopen, but I'm sure for most people, our credit card statements have been a lot shorter. And that's a good feeling, right? But what's the item you're most excited to see, on that credit card statement? What are you most excited to swipe or push your card or tap your card or whatever Apple Pay for as the world continues to reopen or maybe eventually is open again fully?
So is it bad if my answer is bars? I feel like so many people have talked about like restaurants and we really want to go to like all these restaurants, and I'm like kind of meh. Like it's nice to have not, as you said, have all of the credit card statements piling up for it. And I've gotten a little bit better at cooking as this has gone on, and it's kind of nice to know that and to know what you're eating and to be healthy that front. So I'm like, I'm okay if that doesn't happen immediately. But like, my gosh, just the fact that you could walk along and like you have this amazing like curated space where, I mean, I live in Brooklyn, right? Like where people put a lot of effort into the space and the atmosphere, and just get like, 30 minutes to be transported to maybe like an artisanal salon where someone has developed like this artful craft cocktail recipe, or maybe a sports bar that's got amazing beers on tap and you feel like you're in the middle of a party, or let's go wild and crazy and let's do like a tiki bar and feel like I'm totally in a different world. Those like little kind of like mini vacations, that was one of the best parts of living here. Was on a random Saturday you could say like, I'm going to take a 1 hour vacation to Paris or to Italy, and have an amazing glass of French wine or Italian wine, or we have two bars literally opened by a husband and wife from the Black Forest that would sell like German beers on these long wooden tables. To just have that like little mini break from the ordinary, to have that taken away was kind of sad. So that's what I'm most excited for.
Well,
and I hope those people in Alabama don't screw it up too bad.
Hopefully very, very soon. I mean, you should theoretically, if you're doing it on the street, be able to have a drink there now if the bar has a table outside that you can get.
Well, I just found a map of all of the places that are open.
Yes, I saw that.
So we were just looking through that, and hopefully this weekend we might be able to go and do a little bit of that. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I wish you luck. I wish you a nice, whatever chunk of change you want to spend showing up on your credit card statement, you will enjoy paying for that check.
I think so.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for talking to me. You gave Andrew, who you know very well, a little bit of a break because you get it. It's only been the two of us for a really long time, and I need to talk to. I want other people to talk to. So you gave him some quiet time. You gave him a break.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was great to talk. I feel the same way. It was great to just talk to another person, and it's been really fun to kind of think back on the last couple of months and really reflect on what's changed. So thank you for the opportunity.
So much more to come, right?
Absolutely.
Well, we'll talk to you next time. This has been Let's Talk About It.